Hello and welcome back to another Nostale video. Today I'm going to be showing a money-making method, and this method is only for levels 30 to 45. And I use this method almost every time I level up a new account just because it's pretty easy to get the money, and it also helps you level up a little bit faster. If you're new to the game, I would say maybe wait till you get your first specialist card, which is at level 36. Now, if you want to get the card ahead of time, there are a few things that you can do, a few basic things just to help you be a little bit stronger. But first, I'm going to explain what I'm doing here. So basically, you need to get these dowsing rods from Malcolm in Nostale. You have to buy them for 400 gold each, and you only probably need maybe 20. And I usually buy a lot more because I usually buy a lot of materials to make roughly like 10 Cuby seals. And the way it works is there's a point on the map, on this Sunny Meadows map, where there's a time space, or a spot where I could create a time space. And that time space will allow me to, the reward for it is giving me a Cuby seal. And those sell for about between 100,000 and 200,000 gold a piece. I just sold a couple of them and I'm up to over 400,000 pretty easily. I also use this method to buy myself a mount. So yeah, it's pretty good. Basically what you have to do is just go around the entire map until you find, when you use one of these dowsing rods, it will show you an arrow above your head instead of the question mark that you've been seeing. And that will point you in the direction of the time space, or the point where you can create the time space. And there are a few other materials that you'll need to create this time space. And basically what you use is this raid time space piece. And once you can double click on it and see that you can see the arrow. You can double click on it and it'll show you all of the time spaces that you can create and where you can create them and the materials that you need to create them. I'll show you here in a second. Of course, it was right next to the entrance. Alright, so yeah, if you double click the raid time space piece, the first one here is what we're doing. You need 30 small beans, which I usually just go get myself because they're pretty easy to get. You need 2 new moon crystals, which they're about 100 gold a piece in the Nos Bazaar, so I just buy those. And you also need a total of 12 seeds of power. You need 2 to create the time space, and then, then you need 10 to open the time space. So yeah, if you see here, 10 seeds of power required, level 30 to 45, and the reward is a Cuby seal. So let's just get right into it. And a few of the things that you can use to increase your chances of succeeding. Obviously you want pretty good equipment, so a sword and weapon that is not too bad. You could either do time spaces to try and get the good equipment, or you could look in the Nos Bazaar. I usually check to see if there's something higher level than what I have for a low price, like 10,000 gold or 20,000 gold. And if there is, then I just go ahead and buy that. Okay, what else? You could also use tarot cards. So the one that I usually use is the Lovers. There are a few other ones, just depending on what you want. I think the Hermit is good for defense. This Lovers is pretty good for defense and attack. It's good for defense in the way of it increases your health, and it also increases attacks, and it increases your mana. I don't think I need one right now, so I'm not going to use it, but it's definitely a big help. Another thing is costumes, and these I got mine from the Nostale, and you can actually collect daily rewards, which you should know already, but in case you don't, you can get daily rewards, and sometimes they're costumes, and I just usually put on whatever costume I get that has the best effects. So just a couple random costumes here. You could also buy costumes from the Nos Bazaar or the Nos Mall. They have small benefits that do help you out throughout the time space and your quests. Another major help, this was probably the biggest thing for me, is this Special Ops Bushtail. It does huge amounts of damage. It did way more damage than I did without my specialist card, and I think it still does more damage than I do. That was definitely a huge help, and I think without that Bushtail it would have been significantly more difficult. Another thing you can do, obviously, is get some skills from Calvin in Nostale. Once you save up a little bit of money, you can buy skills from him, and those are obviously useful. For a mage, you want to get the heal, and for archers, it really depends. I mean, most of the skills are pretty good. For a swordsman, it also kind of depends. You could get the blackout skill. There's a skill that you can use that you can upgrade and get up to a 90% chance of blackout. So if you use the skill on someone, chances are they're going to get blackout, which means they can't hit you or move, which is great for you. What else? So yeah, just basic equipment. I always make a hippo hat, which is I don't think super helpful in this time space, but it can't hurt. It basically protects from blackout. I don't think there are many enemies in this time space that use blackout, but it also gives a few defenses that are worth it, as opposed to some other things that you might have that won't have the defenses. Where, as you can see, you can compare it to other equipment that you have just to see what might work best for you. A few more things that might help. If I was struggling, I would probably go with attack potions, defense potions, and energy potions. Those are pretty helpful, and they're pretty cheap. So definitely worth checking out. If you're having a tough time staying alive, obviously go for the attack or the defense and energy potions. If you're having a tough time getting through the time space and the amount of time provided, definitely go for the attack potion. Also, that kind of goes into what tarot card you might use. I suggested the Lovers. Personally, I think it's the best for this level, or level 35 or so, just because it gives 2,000 health and 2,000 mana, which for a higher level might not be that much, but as you can see, I have less than 5,000 health, so 2,000 more is a pretty big deal. And if you're a mage or an archer, that's an even bigger deal. You can also, and again, those are easy to get. You can just buy them in the Nos Bazaar. They're about 1,000 gold a piece, I believe. You could also do the Hermit, which is more of a defensive tarot card. Or the Magician, which I believe increases magic attacks and lowers mana costs, which is also pretty good if you're a mage. And let's see what else. I prepared some hamburgers and steak. You can make those if you go to Eva Energy. you can buy a campfire, and you can make food and snacks on the campfire. And the best things that I always found to make were the hamburgers, which heal 500 health and mana over a short period of time, and steak, which is an actual food where you have to sit down and eat them. They heal 2000 health and 2000 mana. The snacks are useful if you are kind of walking through and struggling, even if you like heal up before you go into a room and you're struggling in that room, then it might be worth it to get some snacks. But if you're getting through the rooms pretty easily but just having a hard time healing up between rooms because it's costing you so much time, then you could definitely go for the steaks, which are obviously better at healing, but they require you to be able to sit down, which takes up a little bit of time and might cause you an issue because, you know, you are on a time limit. I've never really struggled with the time limit too much, especially since I have this pet here. Definitely a huge help. Helps me kill things way faster. But if you don't have a pet and you don't have the money for the pet, which this pet was only about 200,000 gold, I'd say almost any bushtail that you can get for a couple 100,000 is probably worth it at lower levels. At higher levels, obviously there's different ways of making money, and it's probably worth it to save up and just buy a better bushtail. But for me, just going from level 1 to 55, this was fine. Alright, so this is one of the rooms that is this probably is the most difficult room here. As you can see, I'm not having much trouble with it now that I have a specialist card. But some of those monsters can be pretty difficult if you don't have a specialist card and you don't do a lot of damage, because some of them have some pretty high health. But yeah, just what I usually do in that room is just try and take it slow. I stay at the top of the room, and then whatever attacks me, I fight it, and then I slowly make my way down and just attack a few things or one thing at a time if I have to. Also, any huge recovery potions that drop in this time space, don't bother picking them up. They're from mimics. I don't think there's any way for you to get any huge recovery potions from this time space, so they're always going to be fake. Also, make sure the rooms with the bosses in, the Cuby that you saw back there, or whatever it's called, Mother Cuby I think, make sure you run away from those because stronger monsters do spawn and they will kill you. They have actually killed me even in my specialist card. I thought it would be interesting to try and fight them, and I died. So don't do that. Alright, this is probably the second hardest room. Arguably the most difficult, maybe. These monsters are also pretty strong. They're level 43. Which isn't bad for me, but if you're level 30 trying to do this, obviously it might be a little bit difficult. And level 44 as well. And that's it. So this is the last room. Basically, there's a warlock that he wants your help or something, and then you help him and he says he doesn't want you there or whatever. I don't know. I don't really follow along with the story that much, but basically, you got the Cuby seal from completing the time space, and now you spent maybe 10,000 gold on getting the dowsing rods and stuff, or maybe even 20,000 to 50,000, but you just got something that you can sell for probably 150,000 or maybe more. So yeah, the somewhat kind of downside to this is you do get experience from this, and it used to only be level 30 to 40. They upped it to 45, so that's good. But you can actually do this so many times that you just level up and can't do it anymore. I didn't have to do that because I have a couple other money-making methods that I'm going to do. But I have done this, like I said, quite a few times. I bought a mount and not the pet, but I've bought a few other things from it. Definitely worth doing at this level. And like I said, Lover's Tarot card, huge help. Special Ops Bushy, huge help and cheap. And just remember your potions and snacks and things like that. So yeah, that's about it for this method, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions or comments, just let me know.